Good morning, everybody. How you doing? Good morning.
Morning.
How are we all doing?
Fine, thank you.
Good. Good. We've got everybody muted here. Okay. Happy Friday. Seems like we made
Happy
it.
Friday to you.
Yeah, it seems like we made it through another week, didn't we? Huh. Okay. Well, my unmute all doesn't seem to be working because everybody's still muted. So, John, Larry, there you go. Larry's unmuted.
I unmuted myself.
Oh, okay. Yeah. How are you doing?
Me, I'm fine.
Good. Good. Because we're going to talk badly about you today.
Working on the wood carvings a little bit.
That's good. That's a very good thing. Okay. And Betty, how are you?
Good.
All right. Eloise, how are you?
Good. Great. Thanks. How are you?
I'm great. Okay.
Okay.
So I'm going to get started because we don't have a lot of time here, as we all know. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play a short, about a 10-minute segment of that drawing video that I produced. And we're really looking at the third and final segment of this. So this will be the last time you get to see this. Lucky you, right? And it will be different than what you've seen because it's the end of the video, okay? And with that, I'll get started and we can begin to look at this. And then we'll talk about it. Whoops. Evidently, I hit the wrong thing. All righty. Can everybody see that?
Yes.
Yes.
Good. Yay. Technology is working today. So what I'm doing at this point is I'm using the kneaded eraser, and I've done the basic foundation of the drawing. I've rubbed it back. I've come back in. I've restated some of the values.
Conscientious about drawing what you're observing and then going back and looking at the object that you're drawing again and again and again and checking to see whether or not you're getting the effect that you're wanting. Now I switched over from a kneaded eraser, and this is a fantastic little tool that I learned how to use when I was doing illustration work over many, many years. And this is an electric eraser, and a lot of architects, graphic designers, people in the graphic arts industry use these. They can be relatively inexpensive, or you can get more expensive ones. This one happened to be about $10, and I bought it at Michael's. And it's a great little tool. It runs off of 2 AA batteries. You can get refills for the eraser head on it. And for doing real fine details, it's a great little tool, for lifting out those lines and, very sharp edges. You just have to be very patient and not be in a big hurry while using it. But it's always a lot of fun to get to this stage of the drawing and begin to use this tool. just like with the kneaded eraser, you need to stop occasionally, clean off the head of the eraser so that you're not just transferring charcoal from one area to another. Keeping your tools clean and ready to use is really important. So after I pulled out all of my light areas with my erasers, now I'm going back in and I'm going to begin to build in some of the details and the light. And I'm using a white, in this case, a white pastel chalk. Now the pastel is a great medium to use. It's easy to find at just about any of the art stores. The only thing about the pastel versus just the regular chalk is that I find that going over an area multiple times, you'll pick up some of the charcoal, and in many cases, the pastel will begin to look sort of grayish because it will mix with the charcoal rather than just sit on top of it. So try not to scrub and keep working over and over and over an area. The more you do that, the more you're going to blend and mix that pastel, with the charcoal itself, and it's not going to be as bright or as white as maybe you want it. So I think you can begin to see how the drawing is developing and beginning to take on this real feeling of weight and form. And these are very, very simple tools, not expensive. And producing drawings like this is always, a great exercise just to develop your observation skills, but also you can create some beautiful pieces of art just with these very, very simple tools. I haven't sprayed this drawing yet, but an alternative to using like a commercial fixative would be using just any sort of inexpensive hairspray. Hairspray generally has a lot of lacquer, in the body of the spray. And the lacquer is the material that will fix the drawing. I actually prefer hairspray over a lot of the commercial fixatives, just because, for one, it smells better than the fixatives do. And it works just as effectively. And you can get a can of Aquanet or some sort of inexpensive hairspray for under $2 in most cases. And it works just as well. About the only time that I'll use fixative is really with pastels and with charcoal drawings like this. Graphite drawings, ink washes, things like that, really don't really need to be fixed. But a charcoal drawing over time will flake off, will fade unless it is. So it's a good idea to give it a light, a very, very light passage of fixative, just to adhere everything to the paper and keep it in place long term. And if you'll do that, the drawing will last a very long time, as long as the paper will hold up. If you're using good paper, that could be longer than your lifetime.
Mm.
And then laying in these lights and or working with the charcoal, the amount of pressure that you're putting on the medium is really critically important. As you begin to get into the later stages of the drawing, you're going to need a much more delicate touch to begin to control the amount of medium that you're putting down. So practice drawing, practice with, handling these mediums, and, have a little bit of fun with it. If this kind of subject doesn't interest you, there's lots of things to draw. You can draw people, places, interiors, still lifes, things from nature. This is an easy media to pack up and take outdoors if you're so inclined. So now I'm getting out the stump. Now I like using stumps toward the end, again, because just like with drawing with the chalk and or the charcoal, the amount of pressure that you use on the tool can be rather effective at, lifting or blending, some of these edges. So there's our complete drawing, and thank you for viewing Drawing Techniques.
All right. So there you go. What'd you guys think of that?
Well done.
Okay.
Very good.
I'm
Very good. Very
actually
cool.
almost getting better at, making these videos. So
I like the way you had the camera positioned over your shoulder. It made it very easy to see what you were talking about.
well, yeah, like I said, I'm figuring this out a little at a time, and it's a learning curve. That's all I can say. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Actually, Jean asked a pretty good question about using hairspray as a fixative. And as I said, it's, for me, going down and getting a $2 can of Aquanet, at the dollar store or something like that, is a lot better than paying $6 or $7, when you go to the art store for really the very same thing, in a spray fixative. The difference being is that the hairspray actually smells better. The fixative has a bit of a chemical odor to it, and you really need to use it outside and then let it kind of evaporate and set up before you bring it back in your house because of the fumes. But the Aquanet it's cheap, it's easy to find, and you don't have to use Aquanet, but it seems like the less you pay for the hairspray, the better it acts as a fixative, because that means the more lacquer that's in this stuff. And, like I said, it's easy to find. But Jane asked if it will yellow over time. And the answer to that is no. I haven't seen that happen. Now, I haven't seen my drawings after like 60 or 70 years. Of course, depending on the paper that you use, if you use paper that is not archival, it's going to begin to break down anyway. So like newsprint, which a lot of us draw on, just to practice, or even just regular inexpensive bond paper, tends to have some acidity in it because it's not all cotton or fiber. A lot of it is made out of wood pulp, and any of that wood pulp paper has acid in it. So over time, the acid in the paper is going to begin to change the color of the paper. It's no longer going to be white or beige. It's going to get darker, as time goes on. Now, if you use an acid-free sheet of paper, that will never happen, and it will stay pretty much so as white, if it's not in direct sun or something like that, as pretty much so the day that you drew on it. So your materials make a lot of difference. And, a lot of people don't want to go out and spend a lot of money on drawing paper, and some of those drawing papers can be a little bit expensive. At Benson, we've been using a paper that I really like, and it's called Rives BFK, and that's RIVES and BFK. And you can get it in different colors. You can get it in white, but you can also get it in kind of a buff color, gray, things like that. It's a drawing paper, but it's also a paper that a lot of printers who do wood block and different types of art printing will use. It's archival. It's 100% rag paper. So what that really means is that it's made actually out of cotton and like natural fibers, like wood fibers, things like that, but not wood pulp. So there's no acid in it. And, it's great stuff to draw. It's very soft, takes, the media like pastel, Conte, things like that, very, very well. And you can really get a lot of medium on it. It holds, a lot of charcoal and things. Some papers, in particular like bond paper, when you draw on them and you go over and over and over them, you'll get to a certain point where you're laying down charcoal and you see most of the charcoal running down the page, because it gets to a point where it's saturated and you just can't get, it to build up on the page anymore. But with a good, like Bristol board, which is archival, museum board, a good archival drawing paper, that's not going to happen. Those are really made to take on a lot of material and you can really build it up pretty nicely on it. So, anybody got any other questions about papers, what we were doing? Sure.
Yes, sir. Do you order that Reeves or Rives, say it online?
You can order it online. You can also get it at Dick Blick. You can get it at Binders. Pretty sure Utrecht carries it. Most of the art stores. Well, you might check with Joann's or Michael's. They may carry it.
Okay.
It's possible. It comes in flat sheets. When you order it online, you can order it in packs of like 25. And when I usually get it from Cheap Joe's. And it's like $32 or $33 for a pack of 25. But these sheets are like about 28 by 36. So they're big sheets of paper. And then I take them and I break them down into quarters. Okay.
Do any of the commercial places that you just mentioned, like Dick Blick's and Binders, have archival type paper in a like an artist pad?
Yeah, they do. They sell, in fact, they have sketchbooks
Yeah.
that actually, you know, smaller sketchbooks and things that actually come with archival paper.
Okay, good.
And you can get either archival paper, or you can get recycled papers, or you can just get, you know, like the regular bond paper. And obviously for the archival papers, they're a little more expensive.
Yeah.
But again, you know, if long term you want your work to last and not fade or yellow or anything like that, it's a good alternative. Okay.
Thank you.
Now, personally, you know, what I use a sketchbook for is it's really for me to keep ideas and thoughts and things like that.
Yeah.
So I don't worry too much about the archival quality of the paper in a sketchbook.
Yeah. Like a journal.
Huh?
Like it's like a journal,
Yes.
art journal.
Right. Exactly. And you know, I don't just draw in a sketchbook. You know, I will collect images, you know, things that I'll photograph, I'll print out, and I'll actually paste on a page, and then I'll write notes and stuff about it. You know, so for me, you know, my sketchbooks are full of all kinds of different, you know, sources of inspiration and ideas. You know, when I get up, I keep a sketchbook by my bed, and sometimes I'll wake up in the middle of the night and I'll be thinking about something, and I'll come up with some kind of solution to something that I'm working on. And when I wake up, I got my pen, I got my book there, and I'll just open it up and, you know, I'll sketch or I'll scribble a few notes, you know.
A lot of authors do that. A lot of book writers do that. They'll keep their notepad by their bed, and then as they wake up in the middle of the night with inspiration, they'll write down sketch out the next ideas for their story.
Right. Yeah. And it's, you know, the human brain is really fascinating when you start looking about, you know, how we solve creative problems. And a lot of times, you know, you won't be able to figure something out while you're conscious, but yet you'll go to sleep. And somewhere in the middle of the night, you know, it will dawn on you, you know, here, you know, this is how I'm going to solve that. And so I, you know, as a creative person, I think it's really a good habit to keep something close to your bed that, you know, when you wake up in the middle of the night, you know, after your brain's been sort of working on something for a while, you know, and you wake up with a solution, you know, don't wait, you know, don't go, oh, okay, yeah, I'll think about that later, and I'll kind of, you know, write down, you know, because what happens to me if I do that, I'll get into my day and I'll totally forget, you know. I'll remember that I came up with a solution, but I won't really remember it clearly, you know. And so that sort of sabotages that, you know, that idea. Okay. So one thing I want to do real quick, we have, we got about 14 people here. Yay. One thing I want to do is I want to make sure to encourage all of you, okay, sometime between now and 1 o'clock, if you have drawings, and since we're dealing with drawing, let's try to keep it kind of around that. If you have something that you want to show, please email it to me, because I think I got some things from June, and I got a couple of pieces from Lawrence, but they weren't even his work. They were somebody else's, but they were something that inspired him. But send me a couple of pieces and we'll talk about them in the drawing share part of this, okay? And so use that email address. Has everybody got that? Is there anybody who does not have my email address at this point? Okay.
Charles.scoggins@gmail.com.
No,
Okay.
no, I can put it up.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, okay. I gotta stay away from that little red in button. I keep gravitating toward that thing. It's like scaring me here. Okay, yeah, let me get that card up. And okay, so this would be the email address. Can everybody see it? Okay. And yes, the schedule, of all the classes and things up there is accurate. And if you don't have time to write, the best way to do this is just to do like a screen capture. I don't know if all of you know how to do that. On a Mac, it's like Shift, Command, and then 4, and you get a little cursor and you drag over it, and it will make a picture of it and put it on your desktop for you, okay? So you don't have to sit and write all that stuff out. Yeah. Anybody still need that up?
I took a picture of it.
Did you? Okay, good. All right. All right. So anybody got anything they want to talk about? Nah? You guys are so quiet. You got to get your coffee in the morning so that you're wide awake when you get here, okay? All right, well, I'm going to show you a couple of things. I had an interesting experience this week that was really a lot of fun. And I really enjoyed it. And I wanted to kind of share it with you. The Atlanta Artist Center, and I think I've mentioned this to you before, is offering live, drawing sessions with a model. But they're doing it just like we are through Zoom. And for the first time on Thursday morning at 10 o'clock, I took about 40 minutes and I attended my very first, quote unquote, live drawing session through Zoom. And I'm going to show you more or less what I came up with. Okay. So this was the young lady. Can everybody see that?
Yes.
Okay. This is the young lady who modeled for us. And I just did a screen capture of her. But, she was basically sitting there and she's like us. She's not at the Atlanta Artist Center. She was at home. And all of the artists were at their own individual homes. And, everybody was sitting and she was taking this pose. And we were drawing her. And I came in kind of late. I only caught like really the last 20 minutes of the session, but it was still a lot of fun. And it was good seeing, all the other people, from the Atlanta Artist Center. And then this is the drawing that I did in about 20 minutes. Now this is in ballpoint pen, okay? Now I know that most people don't think of ballpoint pen as a drawing medium, but the thing I like about ballpoint is you have to be very conscientious about how you use this tool and how much pressure you put down on it. And you really can actually get some variety in your line weight with it. And the nice thing is after you're done, it doesn't smear. And you don't have to fix it. You pretty much, so, in a sketchbook, one of the big problems is if you use graphite all the time, you don't fix those drawings. You end up having the drawing that's on, the right side of the page end up on the left side of the page, over time, because they'll transfer back and forth. And before you know it, your drawings are all kind of mushed together. and you can't really make out really what it was originally. But using pen, it's not the easiest thing to work in, but it's a good thing to work with because, again, you know, you really have to be kind of conscientious about how you use it. And just like with charcoal or pencil, as you lay down tones, you're going to try to follow the form or the shape and the direction that, you know, that area is moving. And anyway, I was kind of happy with this little drawing. It's for a 20-minute, you know, session. For that 20 minutes, I almost kind of felt like I was back at the Atlanta Artist Center, and, which is a nice place to be. So I'm going to talk about some other drawings. And I was talking about, you know, using, you know, and this, again, is ballpoint pen, but moving with the direction of the form. And it doesn't matter whether you're drawing an apple or anything else. This is a drawing that I had done many years ago, not, you know, and it was at the Cobb Marietta Museum. And again, this is a young guy who was modeling, you know, at one of their drawing sessions. And again, you know, paying attention to not just what's dark and light, but the direction, you know, that you lay those tones and things down really help begin to describe sort of the form in the figure, or the chair, or the apple, or the flower, or whatever it is that you're drawing. So now this is a drawing, and this is one that Larry sent in. And this is a young man who did a beautiful job. I'm kind of guessing it's a graphite drawing, and it's done on some nice paper. The paper's got a nice tooth to it, and you know, he's blended it fairly nicely, and then he's come back in and lifted areas very carefully, and then gone back in and reinforced the direction of the planes on there. But lovely drawing, you know, really good tonal value, scale, you know, real strong darks. And look at the contrast. The contrast really is all up here. When you look at it, you know, the darkest darks, lightest lights are in this area. And he wanted that tail and things to move backward. So again, there's nothing as strong or dark back here, which helps push that back and let this area come forward up here.
That shadow in the background is quite interesting.
You mean the tone back here?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, it, you know, in looking at it, it's real directional. You know, it basically kind of moves, you know, at a slightly, you know, downward angle, but it almost looks like the tooth of the paper or whatever was not real smooth. It looked like it had, you know, some kind of, you know, raised surface on it. And it took the medium really, really nicely. You know.
Mm-hmm.
I noticed a lot of the pencil marks are going from left to right. Do you notice that?
Yeah, yeah. So he's well, I would say from right to left, actually, since it's moving downward in that direction. So I would say that he was a righty, if I had to make a guess.
Right-handed?
Yeah, right-handed, yeah. You know.
They can use you at the FBI then.
Well, you see that a lot in drawings. You know, if you were a left-hander, it may be going the opposite direction. And we tend to, when we lay tone and stuff down, start at the top and draw downward. Just because that's naturally kind of how the hand moves.
I always thought that he always had a light touch.
He does, yeah.
Everything he draws is like in cotton to me.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know, you shared that video with me the other day, and that gentleman was using graphite, and he was taking it and he was shaving it down, making it into a powder, and then taking a cotton ball and dipping it in the graphite and then applying it, for his softer tones in the background, things like that.
He
And-
really got it, his color black when he did it that way.
Well, yeah, he kept building it up. He would go back and get more and keep building it up until he really got it as dark as he wanted. And that was a good, effective way of working. And then he'd go back in with the erasers and lift, his midtones and lights back out.
Charles, do you think he used the eraser to make the feathers as light as they are, the middle part of the painting, drawing?
Yeah, he definitely went back in and lifted.
Yeah.
I would say he's definitely using like an electric eraser.
Yeah.
And let's blow that up a little bit. Yeah, when you
yeah.
areas like that,
Yeah.
those are so fine that it had to probably be done with an electric eraser, because you're probably not going to get a kneaded eraser, to really pull something out that sharp. So either that or he's taken some like pink erasers and things, and he's taken an X-Acto knife and he's carved them down so that they really come to a fine point to lift those, and then he's cleaning it and going back in and lifting more.
Is the bird perched with just one of its claws?
It looks like it,
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I only see this foot really wrapping around.
Yeah.
I don't
I
see
wondered,
the other
yeah.
foot.
Thank you.
Yeah. But then again, the other foot may be up behind these feathers right here.
Right.
So we don't really know.
It makes it more interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, it's a really nice drawing. It's beautifully done. Okay. So I'm going to scare everybody now. Okay.
The sailor with a hat.
Yeah, this actually, yeah, I did this. I think I did it over the weekend, and I'm kind of thinking about trying to do a more traditional looking portrait, and so I did this drawing. Maria had taken some photos of me, and I was wearing my favorite beret there. And I did the one from the side, which I thought turned out really well, and then I did the one from the front, and I'm kind of semi-happy with that one, but I think and it's okay with me that I don't have a particularly happy look on my face, and that's fine, but I think I need to widen this out a little bit. I think I'm a little bit narrow in here. So I may still go back and work on that one some more.
Does every artist have to do a self-portrait of themselves before they die?
No, I don't think it's it's not an obligation or a requirement. But let's put it this way. If you want to practice your portraiture and things like that, if you're drawing yourself, and you come out with a less than flattering drawing, then who are you going to be mad at, right? If you're locked in a house with somebody, on circumstances like this, and you're drawing them and you don't do a particularly flattering job on it, they may not be happy with you for a couple of days, So it's probably a good idea to tread lightly, in that area.